How's it going, my bakers? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're making pan de muertos, or bread of the dead, which is commonly made on the 2nd of November for Día de los Muertos, which is Day of the Dead in Mexico. So let's go to the kitchen and check it out. This bread is super soft, fragrant and tasty, so don't let that name scare you. The Day of the Dead is a Mexican holiday on which families welcome back the souls of their deceased relatives. And this pan de muerto is a traditional bread made for that day. It is a sweet enriched dough flavored with orange and anise seed, and is commonly served alongside hot chocolate. Just look at that softness. Think of this as a Mexican brioche, because it contains butter, eggs, and it's cold fermented for extra flavor and of course convenience. If you love your sweet white breads, this is not one to miss. So let's see what we need to make it. We'll need some white bread flour, eggs, milk, softened butter, yeast, salt, sugar, orange zest, anise seeds. If you can't get a hold of anise seeds, no big deal. The bread will still taste great, but it's well worth seeking them out because they add kind of a unique licoricey taste to the bread. Traditionally, orange blossom water would be used for this, but I'm substituting that with some orange oil. It just gives the loaf an extra orange flavor kick. After baking, the bread is brushed with butter and sprinkled with sugar. You could skip this step and instead glaze the loaf with something before baking. As for the equipment, we'll need a tray with some non-stick paper, a bowl, scales, a dough scraper, a temperature probe, a brush, and a fine grater for the orange zest. Now my kitchen is quite cool, so I'm using slightly warmer ingredients than normally. My milk and my eggs are around 16 degrees Celsius, but you don't have to worry too much about temperature control. If your dough comes out slightly warmer, simply fold it sooner after it goes in the fridge. Right, let's start making it. In a large bowl, combine the milk, yeast, salt, sugar, anise seeds, orange oil, followed by the orange zest and the eggs. And then mix everything well. You want to dissolve the salt and sugar and hydrate the yeast. And we're not adding the butter at this point. It'll get worked into the dough later on. Right, once you have given everything a good mix, add the flour. Then grab your scraper and mix it to the dough. Mix it in a bowl until there's no more dry flour left. Tip the dough out on the table and start kneading it. Right now it's not very sticky, so you can use the regular kneading method. I like to press the dough down and forwards with the heel of my right hand, then use the fingers of my left hand to fold the piece of dough under the heel of my right hand, then turn it and repeat. Keep kneading it like this for 3 minutes. All we want to do at this point is get some gluten going. And now we can add the butter. Stretch the dough out, place the butter onto it, and fold it into the dough. And here comes the messy part. What you want to do is squeeze the dough and the butter together. There is no pretty way of doing this. Just squeeze it, squish it until it's all combined. This is the best way of adding butter to this recipe. If we had added it from the beginning, it would be a nightmare to knead. Because of all the additional eggs and sugar, it would be a sticky mess. Saying that, I have made a sticky mess right here. But don't worry, it will come together very soon. So now we want to switch to the slap and fold kneading method. Just for the beginning, until it all comes together. We have to keep kneading it for 4 more minutes. Once it all comes together and becomes less sticky, you can switch back to the regular kneading method. And here we are. It's been 7 minutes in total and the dough looks perfect. It's nice and smooth and it didn't take very long. So let's pop this in a bowl and take its temperature. Around 25 to 26 degrees Celsius is perfect for this. That's around 77 to 79 degrees Fahrenheit. We can cover this up and pop it in the fridge to cool down for 1 hour. If your dough came out too warm, then chill it down for less time, perhaps half an hour. Because after the first chilling stage, we must fold this dough. And if you fold it sooner, it will cool down sooner. Right, come folding time, take the dough out the fridge, tip it out on the table with the smooth side down, then flatten it out, stretch the edge out, fold it over the middle, go around in a circle until you reach point where you started. Then flip it smooth side up again, tighten it against the table, and that's the fold done. The cooled down outer layer has been folded into the middle, plus the dough has gained more strength and tension. Now if we put this back into the bowl with a lid, it will dry out. You could already see some signs of dryness on the surface when I was folding it just now. So instead of using a bowl with a lid, wrap it up in some cling film. And we are done for today. This can go into the fridge to cold ferment. You can leave it in for as little as 12 and up to 24 hours. Okay, on the next day, once you decide that you're ready to bake, pull the dough out of the fridge, get your scales and divide it. You'll find the exact measurements in the written recipe. We need 2 dough balls at 20 grams, 4 dough balls at 30 grams, and finally, weigh the remaining dough ball and divide it in half. After dividing, you want to pre-shape all of them into rounds. It goes the same way as the fold earlier. Fold the edge over the middle, go around in a circle until you reach point where you started. Flip it smooth side up again, tighten it against the table, and that's your dough ball done. And just repeat with the other ones. The pre-shaping step is there to make sure everything's nice and uniform. But after pre-shaping, all the dough balls are tight. Before the final shaping, we need to let them rest. So cover them and leave them to chill out for around 20 minutes. The gluten will relax during this time, and the final shaping will become much easier. Right, first, take the 2 smallest dough balls and shape them into rounds again. These 2 dough balls need to be perfectly round, because they will be placed on top of the loaves. After you finish shaping the 2 smallest dough balls, continue by shaping the 2 larger dough balls. They make up the body of the bread. Now the 4 remaining dough balls need to be rolled out to about 20 centimeters long, which is about 8 inches. After that, we need to roll them out into little segments. They should kind of look like mini sausages. Start in the middle, press your finger down and roll it back and forth. It doesn't have to be quite as thin as I made it here, but it's no big deal if it is. After you've done the middle, repeat the same motion on the sides. You should end up with 4 segments. Right, while we're here, let's talk about what these shapes represent. The round body of the bread symbolizes the circle of life and death. The ball that goes on top represents the skull of the deceased. And these segmented pieces that we just made that will lay across the bread, they represent bones and tears. Right, and here's how to assemble them. First, flatten the larger dough balls slightly. Then lay one of the segmented pieces across the middle. Make sure that the thin part is at the very top. Then take the second piece and lay it across the first one. The spot in the middle where they meet will be the place for the head, so you can poke it down with your finger to make a nice little space for it. Repeat with the second one, then lay the heads on top, and that's the shaping done. And I just love the way these look. The shaping is so simple, it makes it look so intricate. But I guess everything is simple once you know how to do it, right? Right now we can cover them up and leave them for the final proof. How long it takes will depend on the temperature of your kitchen. At around 24 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Fahrenheit, it should take around 2 hours. During the final hour of fermentation, preheat the oven, 160 degrees Celsius, fan on, and that is 320 degrees Fahrenheit. You can glaze them at this point if you want. If you are going to follow the recipe as I've presented it, then you don't need to. But regardless of what you do, get these bad boys in the oven, they'll take around 25 minutes. And I'm not sure what happened to my camera here, it only recorded half the time lapse, that's quite disappointing. Anyway, once the time is up, and once your breads are golden brown all over, they're ready. Now we must leave them to cool down completely, because if we brush them with butter now, the butter will just run off. Place them on a rack. This will not only help them cool down, but also come in handy once we glaze them. To be fair, they look pretty beautiful as they are. Really does look like brioche. And although they represent skulls and bones, they do look quite cute. Little turtles comes to mind. Right, let's glaze them. You want to melt your butter, but you don't want it to be hot. So first melt it, and then leave it to cool down a little bit. Brush them generously. Make sure you get all the little nooks and crannies. Then shake off any excess butter. I imagine in large bakeries, they would be dipped in bowls of molten butter instead of being brushed, kind of like stollen. And finally sprinkle them with sugar. And be generous, you want to cover the whole surface. Once you're done, shake off the excess. And again, if this all is too buttery and sugary for you, you can simply glaze them with something before baking and then skip this step. Right, here's a quick hot chocolate recipe. In a small pot, combine cocoa powder, sugar, cinnamon, some vanilla syrup, and some milk. The recipe I've written down is for 2 cups. Right, give it a good mix, bring it over to the hob, and you want to heat it up until it's almost boiling, but not quite. Once it's nice and hot, take it off the heat and add some chocolate. Then keep whisking until it's all nice and molten. That is a very simple hot chocolate recipe. You could flavor this with many different things, and you can use different chocolates. The only limit is your creativity. I like to pour it through a sieve, just in case there's something in there. And whilst a glass like this may look good on video, it is the most impractical thing for hot liquids, so just use a mug instead. And there you have it, pan de muerto, bread of the dead. A super unique and tasty bread with great significance. It's an important part of Mexican culture, but for anyone who's not from there, it can be a great project with delicious results. And if you like your sweet bakes, you definitely want to try this one out. It goes down especially well with that hot chocolate. I will add this to the Baking World Tour playlist. Don't forget to check it out for some more unique recipes from around the world. So what do you think this bread? Have you ever heard of it? Have you ever tried it? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this one, click over here. Subscribe to the channel, click right here. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.